Hi there! Thank you so much for joining me today. Sims 4 video. I'm doing another Let's Play, and this is the $1,000,000 challenge. Million Simoleon challenge. I can't read that, but anyway. You start out with nothing, and you end up with 1,000,000. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Hope that's alright with everybody. I've never done this before as a scenario, but I've done it dozens of times on my own, just playing the game. And I rarely start out with nothing. I don't like being poor. I am poor. So if I can live vicariously through a sim, I'm going to do it. And I have everything. Everything you need to be comfortable in life is what I have in The Sims. Now another thing, it is sped up. I can't do these live because it's summertime. My neighbors are too noisy. And we don't have air conditioning, so I can't close windows. I'm sorry. But the second heat wave did break, and that's a good thing. But it's early days in August, so you can't guarantee it won't have a third heat wave. So I'm just used to doing it this way. I'm going to do it this way. Now, this is something I want to mention. You have the housewarming party. You talk to the people who show up, and then they're like, okay, well, better luck next time. It didn't even take. And I wasted my time talking to the pancakes. Ugh. Oh, yeah. They're taking down trees and digging up a lawn today, so you're going to hear noisy trucks. Sorry about that. Hopefully I can get rid of some of it. Anyway, we are on a semi-nice lot in Willow Creek, across the street from the pancakes and the Rindle Rose, whatever you want to pronounce it. That's where she is. And of course you start out digging and fishing and searching to make money, and that's what we're doing. The weather always stinks. Now that, okay, I'll mention that as well. I'm sorry, I hope this is okay with everybody. Twice I attempted to play this without seasons. And it's just not taking. I'm doing James Turner's thing. He's got a website, and he's got all the pack numbers. And you go into Origin and Games and Advanced and all that other stuff, and you just plunk down those game numbers and hit save, and then those packs should not show up when you're playing the game. Well, it just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. And the first time I did it, all it kept saying is you have to have seasons to play this scenario. You can't play this scenario without seasons. And I'm like, why? Everybody else does. I've seen it done. And you're recognizing that seasons isn't there. It would not let me play. I could not click on play this. It just wouldn't let me do it. So I got rid of that whole file. I kept the Do Not Use Seasons pack. I went back into the game. I created a new sim, and the two choices for summer and winter clothing were there. And I'm like, well, I don't want seasons. Oh, it didn't work. So I have to play this in seasons. So the weather's going to be crummy and dumb and stormy and very disruptive. So I decided to come here to the park because I figured you would get more frogs and more fruit and vegetable items. There is a garden in the neighborhood where Bella Goth lives, and I wanted to visit that as well. The problem with that is, even though the items are there, if you go from one area to another, you have to wait like a whole day or two for those items to spawn or produce. And that's time consuming. So, however, I was very happy to see that strawberries and snapdragons both appeared here. If you graft those two, you'll get the dragon fruit, which you can sell for a very nice profit. So I'm collecting as many strawberries and snapdragons as I can. And I don't know if this is a reality anymore, but Carl, Sims 4 Guide, he, through much trial and error, discovered that the best fertilizer for gardening is the rose. I don't know if that's still true, because this was a couple of years ago, I believe he did this. But I have always used roses since, and the Evolve seems to show up rather regularly if you do that. But the quality of your plants improves much quicker the better item you use to fertilize. So I'm using roses. Maybe it doesn't matter at all anymore. You could use a silly guppy and it would work. But I'm doing gardening because I want to produce items that I can survive on and sell for a nice profit. See, so now here it's snowing. I'm going to have to try and understand why those game pack numbers aren't working anymore. I don't get it. Because I used to be able to do that when I just play and I'm not making a video. There are certain packs I just don't want to be bothered with. And Get Famous is one of them. Seasons is another. So it always worked before and now suddenly it's not working at all. I don't know. So this is rather boring. Yeah, I am in the park at this point. I had no idea that there was a nice cushy place to sleep inside that bathroom area there. I was worried that she was cooking something expensive, but it was just hot dogs. The two least expensive items there is grilled fruit and hot dogs. I think they're both 14 simoleons. But yeah, having that little cushion there is a great. She does not wake up achy and miserable. That phone call thing has to change. There's got to be a way, hopefully with an update or something, if enough people who are much higher up than me complain. Too many interrupted phone calls, and the fact that they're running around on their phone regardless of what they're doing. Like if you set up a date and there are prime goals you have to meet in order to get a gold star or whatever for that date. In the middle of their conversation, both of your characters will be on their phone. If they go jogging, they're on their phone. If they go hunting for something, they're on their phone. The only time you do not see them on their phone is when they're fishing. That's the only time. And it's just so annoying. I have actually a sad, funny story about that. And I just don't find any humor in it, so I don't know why they would add it to a game because, it was a couple years ago. And I was driving near the high school, the local high school here. And I was in a neighborhood, so I was already going about 20 miles an hour. But I turned off of one neighborhood street onto another. So I was probably not even doing 10 miles an hour. I had just made the turn, and there are always cars parked on either side. You just can't whip down a subdivision street. It's impossible, even though the limit's 25. You go 10, as you can't see anything. So I had made this turn, and I'm heading in my direction. And this kid, this high school kid, is got both hands on his phone. He's looking at it. He walked right off the curb and into the street and hit the front of my car. Because I had already stopped. I saw him coming. So I had my foot on the brake and I'm just watching him. I thought maybe he would notice and then just cross the street. He did not even see me there. He walked right into my car. And I'm just looking at him and he looked at me and he did that, half smirk. And then he just turned around, went back out on the curb, and kept going. All the while staring at his phone. He didn't even care. I find nothing funny about it. People driving and using their phones. How many times have you had to sit at a green light because somebody's on their cell phone? And how many times this has happened to me? Oh my gosh. You're getting ready to make a left turn. So you're waiting. And the person coming directly in at you on the opposite side is heading right into your lane. because they're driving with one hand and texting or reading or listening with the other because they got their phone in their hand. I could have been hit head on so many times because of that. But I just lay on the horn. And I don't care that people don't like when you do that. I had to wake him up before he hit me. So annoying. So, those two things about this game. Oh, and the wants and fears. If she has to go through that again, I'm going to be very upset. I gave her likes the outdoors, loner, and creative. And loner does not seem to be working the same way that non-flirty didn't work with the last Let's Play I did. Her social isn't going down all that much, but she talks to everybody and anybody who happens to be walking by. She could be in her house eating. She will grab her food, run outside, and talk to somebody a couple blocks away. How is that being a loner? I always chose loner when I was doing like the scientist career or the astronaut career because I didn't want them doing that. I wanted them to concentrate, build up their logic. Oh my gosh. We ate a lot of hot dogs on this first day, first few days. Another thing I noticed, she doesn't care about the weather. That might have something to do with loving the outdoors. I've never noticed it before because I generally choose likes the outdoors for a lot of my Sims because I'm so into gardening in this game. I do a lot of gardening, a lot of cooking, a lot of flower arranging. I just didn't really enjoy doing those things. And then my Sim will stay home as a writer or an artist just to make an income. And that's generally how I play. But regardless of choosing likes the outdoors, none of my Sims have ever cared for the weather. If they get wet, they need to hop in the shower right away because they feel yucky. If a thunderstorm comes up, they freak out. So I have to save up those aspiration points to buy those two weather-related things. They don't mind the cold and they don't mind the heat. And the Storm Chaser one, which makes them like thunderstorms. They become energized if a thunderstorm is around instead of freaking out and acting like a baby. So we finally have enough money to build something, and I thought at first that I would build a greenhouse for my items since I can't get rid of seasons. And then I thought, you know what? Let's stop living in the park and stay on our lot here. So I tried as best I could to make what I could and yet have some money left over. So it's a dumb looking house. There's nothing aesthetic about this. She has the basics. And I think it works out well for her because for whatever reason, my last Sim, my goodness, was she tough to work with. This Sim, not so much. She seems very amiable. No matter what happens, she's down for it. If you put her in a gym, she'll take her shower and go pee, but then she wants to exercise. If you send her to the park to use the bathroom, she'll do that, but then she wants to go out and socialize and play chess, and it's kind of weird. So this Sim is a little bit easier to work with. I give her the necessities at this point because she has the money for it. But one thing I never understood about this scenario in particular is it counting how much you've made regardless of what you're spending, or does it deduct what you spent and the number reverts back? I have no idea. I'm going to assume it's regardless of what you're spending. It's just totaling up how much you've made over time. I did not go low end on some of the items because, again, me being the way I am, I have used lowest items before. I think I did in my last Let's Play. There were low budget items in that house. But she wasn't supposed to care about that. And I don't know that this Sim would care that much about it either. Neither of them were snooty. But it's expensive to have to replace or even repair certain items. And because you gotta buy parts that she does not collect all the time. Every time my Sims go scavenging, they always end up with the robotic parts. Maybe a common upgrade part. Rarely a plumbing part, which is what you generally need. I have to mention here as well, that island living garbage can has never worked for me, ever. Never. You'll notice as we go along here, she will always use the sink or she'll put it in her inventory. Her, used dishes. She never uses a garbage can, and that has happened to me before. I chose the island living one because it matched the house and the door, and I just liked it, but they won't use it. So is it exclusive to the island living place? What is it called? Sulani, Leilani, wherever that place is? You could only use that garbage can there? I didn't know that. But I think I'm going to have to replace it because she's just not using it. Yes, she found clay. I was reluctant to take that clay away from her because it was helping with her fun. But clay is as annoying and addictive to a sim as having a popcorn maker or an ice cream maker or a bar in your house. No matter what it is they're doing, the pop-up bubble in their head will always be, make popcorn, make popcorn, make popcorn. It's the same thing with the clay. They will not leave it alone. They become obsessed with it, and it just drives me nuts. But again, I let her keep it because it did bring up her fun. But I don't know how long that's going to last. So she meets, this time, instead of Caleb, she meets his sister. Oh my gosh. What is her name? Oh, I can never remember. So that's part 1 of my Making a Millions, Rags to a Millions Let's Play. I hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and put the clay down and eat. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. I really appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed this. Like the video if you did. Subscribe if you're interested. That would help me a lot. Take very good care of yourself and have an absolutely fabulous day. Bye-bye.